All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into healthy weight gain.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking at a really awesome health and fitness podcast
Okay.
that really resonated with me, and
Yeah.
hopefully we can pull out all the best advice from it for you. I think it's interesting because so much of the conversation around fitness is about weight loss, but gaining weight and doing it in a healthy way can be just as tricky.
Absolutely. And what's important to remember is that, like with weight loss, there's no magic bullet.
Right.
It takes a really targeted approach and a good understanding of the fundamentals.
And that's where this podcast episode really shines.
Mhm.
It lays it all out in a really clear way,
Yeah.
starting with that fundamental principle: calorie surplus.
Right.
You've got to be taking in more calories than you're burning,
Yeah.
but it's not just about eating anything.
Exactly. You're building something here. It's like constructing a house.
Hmm.
You could use cheap, flimsy materials, and it might look okay at first, but it won't stand the test of time. We want to build your body with the highest quality materials, nutrient-dense foods that fuel your body and help you pack on solid weight.
Okay, so let's talk about those building blocks.
Right.
Where do we even start? What are the foods that are really going to help us gain weight the right way?
Well, you'll want to think about it in terms of macronutrients,
Okay.
carbs, protein, and fat.
Okay.
Each plays a crucial role, but they all work together. So let's start with carbohydrates,
Okay.
which often get a bad rap, but complex carbs like oats, quinoa, sweet potatoes, and whole grains are essential because they provide sustained energy. Think of it as your foundation for everything else you'll be doing.
Okay. I see how carbs provide that base layer of energy. Yeah. What about protein? I know that's super important for muscle growth, and I imagine that's a big piece of the puzzle here.
You got it. Protein is like the bricks and mortar of your house. It's what your body uses to build and repair muscle tissue. And since you're looking to gain weight, particularly lean mass, protein needs to be a staple. The good news is you've got a ton of options: eggs, chicken, fish, tofu, lentils. Aim for a good mix of animal and plant-based sources to make sure you're getting all the essential amino acids.
And this is something they really drilled down on in the podcast, the importance of protein timing. Are we just trying to get enough protein throughout the day, or is there a more strategic way to think about it?
That's such a great question, and they did touch on this. Essentially, there's a concept called the anabolic window, which is basically a period of time after a workout when your muscles are primed for protein synthesis. So getting a good dose of protein within, let's say, an hour or two after your workout can really maximize muscle growth.
Interesting. So it's not just about total protein intake, but also when you're getting it. Now, there's one more macronutrient we haven't talked about yet: fat. I feel like fat gets a bad rap when we talk about weight, but I'm sensing it's going to be a key player here.
Right again. Fats are super calorie dense, meaning they pack a lot of energy per gram compared to carbs and protein. And they're essential for hormone production and nutrient absorption. Think of them as the insulation and finishing touches on our house. They help keep everything running smoothly and efficiently. And of course, we're talking about healthy fats here, like those found in avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil.
I love that analogy. So we've got our foundation, our bricks and mortar, and our insulation, starting to feel like a pretty solid house.
Exactly. And what we want to avoid are those cheap substitutes: processed foods, sugary drinks, things that might give you a quick burst of energy, but ultimately don't contribute to building a strong and healthy body.
So how do we figure out how much of each of these macronutrients we need? Are we just trying to eat more of everything?
That's where things get a little more individualized, and where some people find tracking their calories and macronutrients to be helpful, especially when you're first starting out. It can be a bit overwhelming at first, but there are great apps and resources out there to help you track your intake and make sure you're hitting those targets. Think of it as fine-tuning the blueprint for your house, making adjustments to the design as you go to ensure everything fits together perfectly.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. Building that calorie surplus through nutrient-dense foods, and focusing on getting the right balance of carbs, protein, and fat. But the podcast episode also emphasized that nutrition is only part of the equation. We've got to talk about exercise.
Absolutely. You're not just trying to gain any weight, you're trying to build lean muscle mass. And that's where strength training comes in. It's like the construction crew that's going to bring your blueprint to life.
And they specifically called out compound exercises as being the most effective. Can you explain why those are so important?
Compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, and bench presses are movements that work multiple muscle groups simultaneously, making them super efficient for building overall strength and muscle mass. They're like the heavy machinery of your construction crew. They get a lot done in a short amount of time.
So for someone who's new to weightlifting, are these the exercises they should start with? I imagine it can be a bit intimidating to walk into a gym and jump right into those big lifts.
That's a great point, and one they addressed in the episode. Starting slow and focusing on proper form is crucial, especially when you're new to lifting. It's better to start with lighter weights and really master the technique before increasing the weight or resistance.
So it's not about trying to lift as much weight as possible right out of the gate.
Not at all. In fact, doing so could lead to injuries. The key is progressive overload, which essentially means gradually increasing the challenge over time. As you get stronger, you can either increase the weight you're lifting, the number of reps you're doing, or the number of sets.
Okay, so consistency and gradual progress are key. They also mentioned something about rest days, which I think is often overlooked when people are trying to get into a fitness routine.
Rest days are absolutely crucial. It's during those rest periods that your muscles actually repair and rebuild, becoming stronger. Think of it as giving your construction crew time to regroup and recharge.
So working out every single day is actually counterproductive.
It can be. Your body needs time to recover and adapt to the stress of exercise. Overtraining can lead to burnout, fatigue, and even injuries, which will ultimately set you back from your goals.
All right, so we've got our nutrition plan in place. We're hitting the gym and focusing on those compound exercises. We're being patient and giving our bodies time to rest.
Yeah.
But what about those of us who struggle to eat enough to create that calorie surplus in the first place? The podcast host had some really interesting tips for actually increasing your calorie intake.
Yes, sometimes it's not just about what you're eating, but also finding ways to bump up those calories without feeling like you're constantly stuffing yourself. One of their top recommendations was smoothies.
Smoothies. I love a good smoothie. But how do you make them work for weight gain?
The beauty of smoothies is that they're so versatile. You can pack in a ton of calories and nutrients without having to eat a huge volume of food. Think about adding things like protein powder, nut butter, oats, even some avocado or Greek yogurt to boost the calorie and protein content. You can even sneak in some greens for an extra dose of vitamins and minerals.
So it's like a supercharged meal or snack that's easy to consume. What other tips did they have up their sleeves?
They also recommended incorporating calorie-dense snacks throughout the day. Things like trail mix with nuts and dried fruit, Greek yogurt with berries and granola, or a slice of whole grain bread with avocado and a hard-boiled egg.
These are great ideas. Small but mighty snacks that can really add up throughout the day. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the power of snacking when it comes to weight gain.
Absolutely. And if you're someone who's always on the go, meal prepping can be a game changer. It takes the guesswork out of what you're eating and ensures you always have healthy, high-calorie meals and snacks ready to go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of meal prepping. It's a lifesaver when you're busy and don't want to rely on less healthy takeout options. I think a lot of people associate meal prepping with weight loss, but it can be just as effective for weight gain.
Right. It's all about planning and preparation, no matter what your goals are. And at the end of the day, the host really emphasized that patience and consistency are key. You're not going to see results overnight.
It's like building anything worthwhile. It takes time, effort, and dedication. You're not just slapping together a quick fix. You're creating something sustainable and long-lasting.
It's a journey, not a race. And there will be ups and downs along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to celebrate those small wins along the way. Each pound gained, each new exercise mastered, each healthy meal prepped. Those are all victories worth acknowledging.
Absolutely. And it's those small victories that will keep you motivated and on track when things get challenging.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to hear what resonated most with you. What's one key takeaway that you're going to implement in your own journey toward healthy weight gain?
For me, it's the emphasis on protein timing. I knew protein was important, but I hadn't really thought about the strategic timing of it before. I'm definitely going to start paying more attention to that.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think for me, it's the reminder that building muscle and gaining weight takes time and consistency. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting quick results. But this episode really highlighted the importance of patience and playing the long game.
Yeah, that's so important. It's not about finding a quick fix. It's about building sustainable habits that will support you for the long haul.
Well, there you have it, folks. A deep dive into the world of healthy weight gain. We've learned about the importance of creating a calorie surplus through nutrient-dense foods, incorporating strength training, strategically boosting our calorie intake, and above all, being patient and consistent with our efforts.
Remember, this is just the starting point. There's so much more to explore and learn, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a solid foundation to build upon.
Exactly. And as you continue on your journey, remember to listen to your body, experiment with different approaches, and find what works best for you.
Because ultimately the most effective approach is the one you can stick with.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep into the things that matter to you.